How did I get to be me? Physicality in all its different forms and expressions began to be developed on many different planets. Many different kinds or forms of humanity began to be explored. As we use the term humanity, to us that means all different forms of you expressing you. And as we speak about building bodies, these are not just your particular types of bodies. As an example, the peoples that work with plants are constantly experimenting and developing new species and varieties of plants. These plants are not in competition with each other any more than you are in competition with other planets and their explorations. These gillions of bubble containments are as complete in their existence as you are in yours. Now we come to your particular version of physicality, which is the most intensely focused and advanced of them all. We could take one of these forms and have it move and the other one to move, and they would come together, and we could separate them. And getting them close together, then we could start manipulating them so that they were working together. In the process of refinement, we finally found that we could get these things to move, what you call appendages. It would be as if you drew stick people. Like children, they draw the heads as circles and the arms, body and legs with the stick arms and the stick body and the stick legs. That was much like the beginning, except that these sticks were hollow and we put these atoms in those sticks, and because of the action of the atoms, we could get those parts to move. Now they were moving by themselves. How do you control all of this? You know, a hologram does nothing by itself. John reminds me that we had mentioned the origins of the bodies in one or more of the Datre transcripts. When we said that those on Jupiter built these human bodies, that was just simplifying the answer. Creator core selves, working in the Jupiter bubble, noticed our excitement and wanted to join in on this development. That is what creators are all about, trying to find out how to make things work. Once we had these atoms and we had this basic movement, we thought we could continue working on this. Maybe we could get ourselves into these and direct them if we put a little bit of ourselves inside of them. The creator core selves took a small portion of themselves and put it into these large containments. This portion in the containments became what we have referred to as the you that you are. This seemed to work quite well because the creator core self and the you that you are were in constant communication. That is when the refinement of this hologram that started out as nothing but squiggles eventually became the body that you and physicality use today. As developments continued, these holograms became stuffed, shall we say, with more and more atoms that had specific areas of the body in which they worked. Specific things that these atoms did. You see, atoms all are different. Everybody says, well, it is an atom. But an atom that makes your skin, and an atom that works inside your stomach, and an atom that works with the flexibility of your muscles and makes your muscles and your bones and all that, those are all different forms of atoms. Then, from that point, it all began to take on a different meaning. Because the you that you are was able to get into that form, then they would say, in order to do that, we have to make a different combination to make this part work. It was a random thing. Like, how do we do this and how do we do that? It was like building a robot. What do you have to put into it to make an arm go off to the side, up in front of you and down again? So you see, this was a very long process. While all of this was going on to you that you are continued to work with some of us in Datre, and we would say, maybe let's do this. Then the you that you are in the hologram would say, oh, that works pretty good. This was over a long period, but as we say, there is no time and there is all time. From that basic beginning, this was how these bodies were started. Remember, these were all invisible energy patterns at that point. To begin with, everything went just fine, but we realized, yes, this was fine, but could we make them more defined so that we can figure out how to better work with them? The creator core self and that portion of itself, being the you that you are, was in the hologram on a constant basis, and so was able to organize the body structure in greater and greater detail. Because of our excitement of working with particles, holograms, and atoms, we had overlooked the possibilities afforded us through this new thing called consciousness. Working with consciousness, we were able, over long periods of time, to work with the hologram in many different ways. It became viable. It began to take on almost what you would call a substance. We have said that consciousness is. Consciousness changes when it enters a containment of a specific configuration to make a certain something. Different configurations of some things result in different effects of consciousness. As consciousness expands in its awareness, your particle universe continues its expansion. By working with consciousness that was outside of the body and incorporating it to the inside of the body, the you that you are was able to get into the hologram and make it a more viable something. Consciousness was the key. Consciousness, by its very nature, will continue to maintain its original configuration like it does with your atoms. The consciousness is able to keep the body together and let it grow on its own. You see, energy now had the ability to work on its own once something gets started. These bodies began to become more and more refined. They were easier and easier to manipulate. Because they were large and cumbersome, we made them smaller and more agile. The holograms, because of their compactness of the energies, began to have what you would call a perception of gray. It has taken eons of time, in your counting, not in ours, to make a viable something that had the ability to be able to see, feel, taste, hear, and all the other operations of the body. These were all different stages of development. It got to the point that the you that you are continued to refine this configuration more and more. This resulted in smaller, more detailed bodies. What are we going to do with these shapes? There was another development that came about. That was when other groups of creator core cells began to put together a whole game that you could play. Then they said, here are some games that the you that you are could work with. The you that you are played these games along with others that were in these little bodies, and they began to act and interact with each other. They soon got bored with other people's games and wanted to write their own and act them out. They were aware that all possibilities and probabilities were found in consciousness and wanted to pick out their own games. These games were very different from the games you play today. These games were games of exploration. Since what you call gravity had not been invented yet, these games were not limited to the surface of the planet. You, in your civilization, think of everything in terms of competition. In the universe, this is a totally unknown quality. There is never any need for competition in the universe because anyone can do anything, anywhere. With all of the possibilities and probabilities you have to choose from, why do you feel the need to compete? If you were to stretch one moment so that you might experience all the possibilities and probabilities available in that moment, in linear time terms, that moment would last an eternity. There again, in working with consciousness, the you that you are began to expand that particular aspect of physicality. As that expanded, the you that 19 you are found a new problem. This isn't going anyplace. As an example, in the very early stages of development you worked with the free flow of material. When someone wondered what a plant was like, they let their awareness flow into the plant for their exploration of what it was. The you that you are also realized that in order to explore the maximum achievements of this new experience called physicality, it was necessary to limit the awareness in a part of themselves. Also, the energy intensity of the you that you are became too great to allow these smaller bodies to remain together. They just kept blowing apart. They didn't want to lose the progress that they had made. They decided that the only way they could get the result that they wanted was for the you that you are to take a small portion of itself and put it into these new refined bodies. That worked. The bodies stayed together. This resulted in what is called the waking self and the dreaming self. The waking self, you in the physical body, had to believe it was something separate from its whole self, the dreamer, in order to experience limitation to the maximum. In your dreams you dream your life into existence, then through your imagination you make those dreams real. It is you putting yourself into the center of your dream and projecting your dream around you. Through the constant evolution of the body through eons of plays and experiences, you have developed a stronger and stronger belief that you continue to maintain, and that belief is, I am my body. In sleep, when the body begins to relax, the hormones create a type of numbing effect on the body that allows you to leave it. The same with out-of-body travel, etc. You have even created a pseudo-body for your out-of-body travels. You are not comfortable without a body. The intensity and complexity of this now continuing makers of a form, which is you in the body, began the picking up of the components to make your play. The interaction with others is where it all came together. That is where the you that you recognize came into being. The you that you are becomes the dreamer you and is able to stand back, so to speak, and watch what is happening. Since the dreamer you is unable to function in this physical environment and you and the physical are unable to function outside of physicality, all of your experiences in physicality are absorbed by the dreamer you. No experience is ever lost. It continually expands your awareness. So in this game of physicality, those that die and believe they give away their bad or sinful experiences are just playing a game of hide and seek with themselves. All of these experiences have been absorbed by that part of you, called the dreamer you. As an example, at this point the you that you are was taking a portion of itself to make you. This closely resembles the story of Pinocchio, by going from experiencing as the puppet master to experiencing as the puppet. The dreamer you can only imagine what physicality is really like. The awake you acts out the imaginings of the dreamer you. The imaginings of the dreamer you are the result of the dreamer you exploring the possibilities and probabilities of consciousness. As an example, the musician imagines the music in their head, but it is never fully experienced until it is written down and played. Multiple dreams, such as dreams within dreams, are the dreamer you imagining multiple versions of plays. Like you in physicality reviewing different styles of composers and imagining Mozart being played in the style of Chopin. Due to the characteristics of your atom containing the energies of light, color, sound, and the electromagnetic spectrum, visibility was a possible development. Eventually you use these different characteristics of the atom to build sensory components in these physical bodies that you have today. You make the decisions as to how to look and what characteristic you wish to express. The dreamer you picks your game or play and you and the body decide how you want to play it. You, being the writer, the actor, director, and stage hand, choose how the play and scenery will be arranged for the experience you are considering.